But I want to start with the game that I was at, watching Ohio State beat Penn State at home, number one team in the country, as it is told to us by the AP. I believe that the committee will also do that based on what we've seen from Ohio State so far. Maybe not based on resume because of Texas's struggles, at least in their couple of losses that lost to Florida more specifically. But I do think that Ohio State via eye test, efficiency markers are going to be right there and likely your number one team on Tuesday night from the playoff committee. And here's what I thought is I'm watching that game and I'm preparing for that game. There are not many holes in that team. I'm just like, that is a very complete football team. And the issues that you can kind of conjure up in regards to the Buckeyes, you have to look really hard because there are not many. You know, maybe, hey, would you love for them to run the football a little bit better? Yeah, probably. But guess what? They ran it pretty well, in particular late in that game against Penn State. Would you love it if, do they stop the run great in the interior? Yeah, they kind of do. That defense is still the best defense in the country. So again, everything that you try to invent as a problem or a question for Ohio State, at some point they have answers for. And at least in this case on Saturday, we got to see a major answer. I've been wondering, along with a lot of people, but as you know, listening to this program, I've been wondering, like, when are we going to see it? When are we going to see fourth gear from Ohio State, where they actually are like, okay, let's go. And we got to see that on Saturday against Penn State. It was basically one snap. They're going about their business. You know, they have 3 possessions in the first half. They score on all 3 of those possessions. They're in line to double up because they've deferred and are going to receive the second half kick. They get the ball, right around that 2-minute mark, and you're like, oh, they're probably going to go right down the field and score. And boom, C.J. Donaldson fumbles the football. And that fumble leads to a Penn State score, and now all of a sudden it's 17-14 at halftime, and it's like, whoa, hold on, it's a ball game, even though Ohio State had largely dominated that game up to that point. Total yards, all of it. Now all of a sudden it's a ball game, and you could sense that there was going to be some frustration at halftime. And what did we see in the third quarter? We saw fourth gear. And you know what, folks? That was really explosive. It was dominant, both sides of the ball, defensively and offensively, and they just put the game away completely. No doubt about it. That was as dominant a quarter of football as we've seen anybody play this year. And it's just because they wanted to. They started throwing the football down the field, as you just saw on those YouTube highlights. Julian Sayin was remarkable in his efficiency, his accuracy down the field. We know the type of talent that they have at wide receiver. Everyone talks about that. I've talked about it for a long time. And they don't always just sit there and say, okay, we're going to get after it and go down the field. And they did in that third quarter, and man, it was impressive. A couple of 57-yard catches from Tate and Smith, Sayin throwing absolute dimes down the field. They got the run game going a little bit. The defense is totally suffocating. And all of a sudden, it's like, yep, this is not a game anymore. Now, obviously, Penn State is struggling after firing James Franklin. Ethan Grunkemeyer, doing his best. That is an offense that had some success running the football in the perimeter in the first half, got away from that in the second half. But it was just too dominant of a football team. And that's what I was waiting to see from Ohio State. I think the country was waiting to see, and we got to see it. And that should open everybody's eyes. I think that's a warning shot to everybody in the country, is like, hey, by the way, we still have this. We might be driving around this season in third gear and might just be controlling games. Our tempo is slow. We don't expose our defense to many snaps. All of these things. We play complementary football. All these things are going to pay huge dividends in terms of a long season, potentially playing 16 games to try to win a national title. And yet, when they needed it, it was just like, boom, and game's over. And it's like, okay, wow. And that third quarter in particular, from an offensive perspective, Julian Sayin is an incredible player. He just is. He is an incredible quarterback. 3 incompletions. By the way, 2 of those were throwaways. He has 3 touchdowns, and everything that he does, it's controlled, accurate. He does it with urgency. He's very smart. His eyes are always in the right spot when you're watching him on film. The ball is always in the right spot. When I talk with opposing defensive coordinators, they all marvel at his quick release. And, not only his coaches, Sayin's coaches, but even the opposing coaches, Jim Knowles, in this respect, the defensive coordinator from Penn State, talked about how quick he processes and his release. And they say he might even process information quicker than he releases the football. So all of those things are incredible, which starts to lead us to this like Heisman discussion, because Julian Sayin right now is your betting favorite to win the Heisman. He jumped Fernando Mendoza and Ty Simpson this week. He was third coming into last week, had this remarkable performance, in particular in that third quarter against Penn State. And now all of a sudden he is the betting favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. He's leading the nation with 80% completion percentage. He's leading, by the way, by almost 7.5%. Next closest is Damon Williams from Washington. He's second in yards per attempt. He's first in passer efficiency rating. This guy gets it done. I believe that it's the most elite passing game in college football. And that even takes into consideration Alabama, which is an elite passing team. They can throw it wherever they want, down the field, short. They've got tight ends. They can throw it to the backs. This guy is really, really good, really good. And it led Ryan Day, his coach, to have this comment specifically about the Heisman and his quarterback after the game.
I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't know what else is out there. I've watched them from afar. I think there's some really good quarterbacks across the country this year. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the conference. And so, it'll be told when the season's over. I think it's easy to be at whenever week 8, week 9, week 10, and try to make, proclamations on where guys are. I think we have to see, what the season, holds for us and the progress that's made, and then we go from there. And I think even when you look at, the Heisman Trophy, it's sort of after the season's over, and there's still a whole bunch of football to be played afterwards. So I think that's unique, but that's the tradition. But I do think that if Julian continues to play the way that he's playing, he deserves to be in the conversation at the very least.
There's no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it. And one of the things that I really appreciate about Coach Day, and, obviously I'm around all these coaches and these programs during the course of the year, which, pinch me, this is an incredible job and career. But I will tell you this, that I think that the best thing that Coach Day does is that he doesn't take any specific day or game for granted. A lot of coaches will talk about, we just got to go one day at a time, this or that. But then in their next answer, they will immediately jump ahead. And Coach Day never does that. And, football teams, and in particular in this modern era, are a little bit like restaurants. Now, I've never owned a restaurant, but I have several friends who do. And they've told me that restaurants, you have to almost breathe life into the restaurant on a daily basis. You've got to care for it, breathe life into it, because nothing is just going to happen because. And football teams, in particular in college, are a little bit like that as well. You cannot take anything for granted, and Coach Day doesn't. And so that's why his answer is so measured right there. A lot of football left, a lot of football to be played. We'll see if he keeps progressing. And he throws the if in there, not just like, oh, yeah, he's definitely this. Our team is definitely that. If we keep progressing, if we continue to do what we've been doing, then we will be in a position to potentially reap the rewards of that. It's really a case study and really great leadership from a coaching standpoint. And it's one of the reasons why this is such a good team and will be there in the end. There's no doubt. Speaking of the Heisman, I would just say this, and I'll start talking about the Heisman more as we go on here in the month of November. Obviously Simpson's going to be involved. Fernando Mendoza is going to be involved. I think Marcel Reed is going to be involved, the quarterback at Texas A&M, and rightly so, all of those guys. And so it's going to turn into this kind of like SEC Big Ten type of conversation to some extent at some point. And I think my thought would be, at some point, the SEC vote will break a specific way to Simpson or Reed, in particular if they play each other in the SEC championship game. And those votes are supposed to wait until after the SEC championship game, or at least they should. Some people vote before that, but I think we should see all of the games that we possibly can before the vote is done. And then you might get Mendoza against Sayin. If, let's just say, for sake of argument, Ohio State were to beat Indiana, and let's say, Alabama were to beat Texas A&M, and it's like Simpson and Julian Sayin. I think what you would have is a narrative, in particular from the Southern contingent, that, hey, Julian Sayin has Smith and Tate and all these guys, and he might not even be the best player on his own team, whereas Simpson is kind of the catalyst, the MVP, if you will, for Alabama. That would be, I guess, I don't know, not a fear, but like I could see it playing out kind of in that direction. But we'll see what happens. And again, he's playing great. A lot of these guys are playing really great football. So that's Ohio State. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you like this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.